Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's ViDevo. This morning we are in Mark chapter 10, starting in verse 1, going to verse 12, which says this: Jesus then left the place where he was and went into the region of Judea and across the Jordan. Again, crowds of people came to him, and as was his custom, he taught them. Some Pharisees, some of the Jewish religious leaders, came and tested him by asking, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" "What did Moses command you?" Jesus replied. They said, "Moses permitted a man to write a certificate of divorce and send her away." "It was because your hearts were hard that Moses wrote you this law," Jesus replied. "But at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." That's from Genesis, right? "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." When they were in the house again, the disciples asked Jesus about this. He answered, "Anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another man, she commits adultery." Now, simply put, this is just one of many examples of how Jesus is the ultimate marriage counselor. I mean, Christian or atheist, if you take an honest look at what this book has to say about marriage, you have to admit it's like the best marriage advice ever given in the history of history. Like the point of today's passage, that we shouldn't treat marriage as some kind of thing that's disposable when we have a bad day, or like it's some kind of just contract agreement that we can break and it doesn't really matter. Man, that's not God's intention for marriage. You know, the Pharisees back then had this thing called any cause divorce, where if your spouse burned your toast one time too many, you could just divorce them and go marry someone else. And Jesus makes the point here, that's not what this was meant to be, guys. You know, getting married, divorce, marry someone else, you're treating it like paperwork adultery. God's intention for marriage is this beautiful thing where a man and woman who have committed their lives to each other come together as one and stay that way through the ups and downs of life. He wants this team that attacks problems together, not attacks each other. This team that when there is a disagreement, finds a way to work together and forgive each other. He wants us to put all of our hearts into it, like Jesus says here, "Till death do us part." In fact, some of you may remember in the book of Ephesians, the Apostle Paul writes about how the ideal marriage between a husband and wife should look like the relationship between Jesus and the church, where these two are just constantly trying to serve each other out of love. You know, marriage is something that was meant to be invested in and protected on a daily basis. That's why we make such a big deal about it here at SCC. It's why we dedicate at least 4 weeks to teaching on the Bible's teaching about marriage each February as our Love Month thing goes. So how can you intentionally invest in making your marriage stronger today? You know, even if you're not married right now, but you hope to be someday, what are some things you can start doing today to make sure your marriage is strong later in life? If you need any refreshers, go to our website and click on the link that says online sermons and scroll back to February when we did our 7 Keys to a Thriving Marriage series, and they're all there for you. And today, follow Jesus' lead and try to get his heart on marriage as well as everything else in life. "Okay, Matt," you may say, but what if it's already too late for me? What if I've already gotten a divorce in life? Is God mad at me? Does he hate me? Of course not. You know, the Bible does say that God hates divorce, but that's because he knows what it does. He knows the destruction and the pain and the damage that it brings into life, and he wants such better things for us than that. But the Bible does not say that God hates divorced people. I need you to hear me on that, okay? He still loves you unconditionally, and he wants to take the rest of your life and mold it and shape it into the best of your life if you'll let him do it.